Good evening, you're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Chloe Feng. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. An inquest has been ordered into the Llama ferry disaster, which killed 39 people 11 years ago. The number 1 signal is in force as a super typhoon enters within 800 kilometers of Hong Kong. And experts urge people to stay away from a whale in Sai Kung, while in Australia over 50 whales die after being stranded on the beach. The Court of Appeal has ordered an inquest into the Llama ferry disaster, 11 years after 39 people were killed in the tragedy. Family members who fought for years for an inquest were emotional, saying many questions remain unanswered to this day, Raymond Young reports.
Leung Shuk Ning was all smiles, while Chiu Ping Kun was more reserved as they walked out of the High Court.
好激動啊！呢個係咁多年唯一
Very emotional, Leung said when asked how she felt after receiving the good news this morning. Leung and Chiu had successfully persuaded the Court of Appeal to order an inquest into the Llama ferry disaster on National Day in 2012. Leung lost her 24-year-old brother, while Chiu survived the tragedy, but his sister died when 2 ferries collided. 39 people were killed in Hong Kong's worst maritime disaster since 1971. But despite a police recommendation, Coroner David Koh decided not to hold an inquest. Koh concluded that the purpose of the inquest overlapped with the Commission of Inquiry set up after the accident. Subsequent requests to intervene were also declined by then Justice Minister Teresa Cheng and the Court of First Instance. But a 3-judge panel led by Chief High Court Judge Jeremy Poon finally granted the family members their wish today. The applicants argued that a number of matters remained unresolved. This included whether the shipbuilder knew that the stricken vessel, Llama 4, had design flaws, whether the vessel's draughtsman had neglected his duty when assessing its ability to stay afloat upon sustaining damage to its hull, and if the crew of the other ferry, Sea Smooth, were deprived of rest due to their long working hours. The 3 judges agreed the points should be examined, and it was plainly in the public interest to hold an inquest. They acknowledged the decision to hold an inquest rested on a discretionary judgment, and that it was wrong for Court of First Instance Judge Russell Coleman not to exercise his. They hope the inquest will provide closure to the victims' families, even if it is long overdue. Raymond Young, HKIBC.
The number 1 signal has been issued as Super Typhoon Doksuri edged closer to the city. The southern mainland coast and Taiwan are on high alert for the typhoon, which killed at least 1 person in the Philippines earlier.
The observatory is on alert after Super Typhoon Doksuri entered within 800 kilometers of Hong Kong on its way towards Fujian. The city can expect extremely hot weather tomorrow after today's temperature climbed to 35.5 degrees Celsius, the highest so far this year. Light winds this morning pushed air pollution to serious levels in several parts of Hong Kong. Doksuri, which means bird of prey in Korean, earlier battered the northern Philippines. At least 1 person drowned as powerful winds and rain blew off roofs, flooded low-lying villages, and knocked out power. Nearly 16,000 villagers were evacuated from coastal villages in Cagayan province. Thousands of people were stranded at various ports after sea travel was suspended. In Taiwan, violent waves crashed against the rocks on Taichung's coast as the storm approached the island. The authorities were forced to cancel part of its Han Kuang military exercises, which is the largest annual military drill. The mainland is also on standby, with officials issuing the typhoon red alert for the first time this year. Fishermen in southern Chinese ports have been evacuated and shipping has halted. Doksuri is expected to make landfall in Fujian on Friday morning.
Chief Executive Zhang Li has met Indonesian President Joko Widodo and signed 15 agreements on his visit to Jakarta. Li said he and Widodo saw eye to eye on bilateral cooperation and the protection of Indonesians in Hong Kong. The SER leader and his high-level business delegation also met about 300 industry and political leaders in the Indonesian capital. The deals signed ranged from green finance to aerospace. Li leaves for Malaysia tomorrow on the last leg of his three-nation tour, which began in Singapore. Hong Kong marine experts have urged the government to set up a prohibition zone off Sai Kung, where a whale has been spotted. The aim is to stop boats from getting too close and hurting the mammal after cuts were found on its back. Chloe Feng reports.
Sai Kung Pier was quiet today, with sampan operators saying no one went whale watching. This boatman said it costs at least $900 to rent a vessel for 3 hours, but warned that one has to be very lucky to spot a whale. Whale mania hit Sai Kung 2 weeks ago when a 7-meter bright whale was spotted in the sea. It then disappeared. But on Monday, a photo appeared on the Chinese social media site Xiaohongshu, indicating that the whale had returned to the area. The picture also showed 3 boats surrounding the sea creature. Another photo, reportedly taken last Saturday, showed at least 2 deep cuts on the whale's back. Marine experts believe that the wounds were caused by a boat propellers. But the scars appear to be old, indicating that the injury happened before the whale arrived in Hong Kong. Ocean Park, the conservation group WWF, and the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department have been monitoring the situation since the whale was first seen. They urged people not to get too close, saying this would traumatize the mammal, which would then find it difficult to eat, rest and heal. The WWF's Lydia Pang said humans should live harmoniously with whales.
Some whales do shows their curiosity to humans. So indeed, they may sometimes swim towards the humans themselves. Our recommendation is not going out to look for it actively.
Pang urged people who take part in water sports to be careful, because they may not be able to stop immediately, adding that loud noises put whales under stress. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Rescuers in Western Australia are battling the cold and the clock in a desperate bid to save dozens of whales stranded on the beach. More than 50 have already died.
What we're seeing is utterly heartbreaking and distressing. It's just a terrible, terrible tragedy to see these dead pilot whales on the beach. Nowhere in the world has there been a solution to whale stranding. This event sadly occurs from time to time over many decades in the past, and who knows how long in the past it's happened over many hundreds of years. Nowhere on the planet have we worked out a solution to stop this, or a solution to successfully save every whale.
Volunteers are trying to push the surviving whales back to sea. The mammals were first spotted yesterday off Ching's Beach, about 60 kilometers east of Albany. Within hours, they were stranded on the shore, where many died despite the efforts of rescuers. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen has confirmed that he's stepping down after 38 years in power and will be succeeded by his 45-year-old son. In a televised address, the 70-year-old, who is Asia's longest-serving leader, said he has informed King Norodom Sihamoni of his decision. Hun Sen's eldest son, Llama, will take over as Prime Minister on August the 10th. The announcement came after their Cambodian People's Party retained power in a landslide victory in last Sunday's parliamentary elections. Llama, currently the army chief, was elected for the first time. A plane fighting wildfires in Greece has crashed, killing 2 Air Force pilots. Several other countries in the Mediterranean region are also battling killer fires, Sai Kung reports.
Tragedy struck the southern Greek island of Evia as an Air Force plane was dropping water on a burning hillside. One of its wings clipped a tree branch, causing it to plummet and explode. The 2 pilots were killed. The military in Greece are observing 3 days of mourning. The crash came as 20,000 people were evacuated from Rhodes, another southern island. Unprecedented ongoing heat waves in the Mediterranean basin have sent temperatures soaring above 40 degrees Celsius, triggering wildfires across several countries, including Italy. In Turkey, hundreds of people were forced to flee raging fires. Russia sent emergency personnel to southern Turkey to help extinguish the flames. Hundreds of firefighters were deployed near the Portuguese capital Lisbon as infernos forced hundreds to evacuate. In Algeria, firefighters have been battling blazes since Sunday. More than 30 people were killed, while at least 1 death was reported from fires in neighboring Tunisia. Azam Khan, HKIBC.
One day after recording a 4% surge, the Hong Kong stock market eased back slightly, with the Hang Seng Index closing 0.4% lower. Investors stayed on the sidelines ahead of tonight's decision by the U.S. Federal Reserve on whether to raise interest rates. Mainland developers retreated after making huge gains yesterday. Country Garden sank 3.4% as trading in its Shenzhen-listed bonds was halted following a 20% price slump. Techs also had a bad day, with Tencent, Alibaba, JD.com and Baidu all losing between 1% and 2%. And now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down nearly 70 points. Top 10 active stocks: Tracker Fund lost 6 cents, Tencent lost $4, and Alibaba lost $1.30. Meituan and AIA both up 10 cents, and BYD Company lost 40 cents. Forex trading against Hong Kong dollar: the euro is at 8.63, British pound at 10.08, and Australian dollar at 5.26. Moving on to the UK market, the London FTSE is currently down 44 points. On to the weather now. The sweltering heat continues, with sunshine and some showers. Temperatures will range between 28 and 35 degrees. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. And that is our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Chloe Feng. Thank you for watching. Good night.